That it reminds me a lot of reading Heschel the
Heschel.
Second when I think about time and space or location, meeting as a meeting place.
Thank you. I think that's a key concept here. Our next question, I think I wanted to ask people if you had any ritual items from your family for Shabbat related ritual items that you might like to share. And they don't have to be just from your family. They could be things you've started to collect in your own sort of spiritual journey. If you have anything to share, again, I encourage you to be brief, but please feel free to share any items you brought with you with us and tell us a little bit about them. Just unmute if you would like to.
My name is
You're muted, Nina. You're muted.
Oh.
May I ask for that to be repeated? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to tell Norma I will follow up and send you the poem. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The question was to share any ritual items related to Shabbat that you might have in your home, or with you. You might want to just pull up something or grab something, or you have something nearby. Feel free to do that and take a minute to tell us about it. Show and tell.
I'll just quickly comment. I have Shabbat candles. They're basic standard candle holders. They're not very fancy, but just that I enjoy lighting the candles as many Friday evenings as I can. I think it's a spiritual ritual that can be calming, and it feels good.
Thank you, Judy.
You're
Anyone
welcome.
else have an item that you'd like to show and share with us? Anyone?
I would. My name is Diana, and my mother and father brought me back candlesticks, which are made out of glass. I don't know what type of glass it is, but I light them on Shabbos. They're two together. And that's what reminds me of my mom and dad. And,
Thank you.
And really quickly, my father took one of the candlestick holders from the wedding, and one of my candlesticks broke. So now I've been using that from Huntington Townhouse, which is over 52 years old, as my third candle I light.
Ah, okay. So you have a third one. Yeah. Thank you, Diana. Anybody else wish to share anything that you have with you? Norma, go ahead. Yeah.
I have Stephen's mother's candlesticks, and I have, which are pewter, and my grandmother, God bless her soul, who had just a plain chrome candlestick. And when I light them on Shabbos, because my mother can no longer light candles, I feel like I'm connected to all the women who've gone before me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to show? Claire?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. My parents were both sole survivors of the Holocaust, so they brought nothing with them to the United States. And so when I moved to California, they came to see me from the East Coast, and we were in a shopping center in San Diego, and a Chabadnik ran up to us and he looked at me and he said, "Do you light Shabbos candles every Shabbos?" And I said, "Not yet." And he gave me some candles, teeny little candlesticks. And we were on our trip and we were in Nevada City, and my mother saw these candlesticks in a shop and bought them for me. So I took it upon myself to start the heirlooms of my family, which had been cut off. And here they are.
Thank you. Other hands that are up? Oh, Bamaya, do you have your hand up? Your icon for hand raising is up, so I'm assuming you're raising.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
So I have a few things that I had them all together because I have a little shelf that I do for Shabbat. So let me turn on. Oh, so there we go. So I have
Oh, how pretty.
like my little like because pink's my color. So I have like my hollow board um in the back there, and then that's like my little it's like got the matches in it, so for the matches, and then the candlesticks. And I usually have like special Shabbat candles that are pink. They're actually like for that, and they come with like a little blessing, but I don't have any. And then they stopped having them available, so they like doubled in price or something, so I just have regular candles that are pink in it now. And then like that one is my hollow cover.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's pink.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Pink definitely is your color. How beautiful that is. Really is. It's just very, very lovely. Did anyone bring anything else to share? I'll share if I am the last one to go. I'll share this, which I have to pick it up and hope that it doesn't fall. It is a Caduce Fountain. Can everybody see this? So what it has is a cup at the top, a big Kiddush cup, and then around it there are 6 little ones that you would take the wine, you would fill it in here, and you pour it, and there's holes, and it would go into each of the little cups would fill with the wine that's dripping through these holes in the holder to fill the little Kiddush cups, and then everyone, would do the blessings. So when I moved into my condo, when my husband and I moved here, one of the members of our congregation gave this to us as a housewarming, and it's really very lovely. I actually hate to use it because I don't like it to get stained and dirty and everything, but it's just really, really lovely. So when I have Kiddush, my cup runneth over. I'll hold it up since I'm spotlighted now. You can actually probably see it better. There we go. Nina, you had something to share, did you?
I did. I have these candlesticks that my kids brought back from a trip to India. And the thing that I like about them is that they're not the same. They're very similar, but they're different sizes. And something about that just makes me feel like it's accepting people with differences. Somehow it represents that to me.
Okay. I really like those. I know you showed them to me earlier today. I really like them a lot. So with this journey that we're on, and with the Kiddush cup that I showed, I'd like to move forward. And we have the word refresh, which comes from the Hebrew nephesh, which means soul. It's translated as the word soul. And we refresh on Shabbat. That's the theme of the day. And we'll start with our first text, if we can.
The Vishamru has the word in it, but enough.
Yeah, and this is going to be our beginning. So we're going to begin. Why don't we do that? If you can click on that, we'll begin with the Vishamru.
ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם.
Great. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to our text. So if somebody would like to read the English for that, feel free to unmute, and whoever does it first, just go ahead and read. Because I can only see you, Nina, so.
People Israel shall guard Shabbat, making Shabbat a holy time for all generations. It is an eternal covenant between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day Adonai made Shabbat, ceasing, and imparted nephesh, soul consciousness, to the world.
Take a moment just to read it to yourselves, and then we'll move into some questions. And the first question I would ask is, what activities refresh your soul, both spiritually and physically? And when you think of being refreshed, what refreshes you spiritually as well as physically? And are we able to open the I don't know how to do this. Wait a second. Gallery. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Who wanted to contribute? I'm sorry. Claire. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, singing.
Okay. Very nice. So singing is refreshing. Okay.
So is sleeping and reading and going to services when you can, or watching services online. So sleeping, reading, and enjoying spirituality one way or the other.
Thank you. Others? Judy, you're unmuted. You want to add?
Yes, thank you. This is not traditional, untraditional, but perhaps going into nature during Shabbat and singing some of the prayers in nature, so that it gives me a spiritual but also a physical grounding, a physical experience, and combining that, I think
Beautiful.
feels healing.
Mm-hmm.
To do
we
that.
could surely use that. That's a great idea.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? How else do people celebrate or refresh their souls spiritually or physically on Shabbat?
So
Lori?
this is Lori, and since Judy said something that was non-traditional, I'll share mine. I take a bubble bath every Friday night. I usually do it later in the evening, so I don't do it before dinner. So I'm definitely heating water and all of that kind of stuff. But as the evening quiets down, every Friday night for probably the last 4 or 5 years now, I have taken a bubble bath.
That's a great refresher. Anybody else?
I love that. I wanted to share that I like to just kind of like having my table set nicely feels really good, because that room that what I was showing earlier, it faces east. So often I'm sitting in there to like have service or prayer online, but then like to have it really all neatened up and everything for the family feels really good.
That's a great idea. And I think
find
Norma, yeah.
that Shabbat brings Stephen and I closer together, whereas we've been busy during the week doing our own thing. What's so very refreshing, despite whatever nonsense has gone on during the week, we make a bond, and it really is very, very important. And we just gotten back to doing Havdalah again, and boy, we're on a roll.
Oh, that's great. That's a wonderful sharing. Well, I on Friday evenings to usher in Shabbat lead services every Friday night. Been on Zoom, obviously, for the past almost 2 years. And actually, I really find that very comforting because I lead services with my husband. So we're doing it, we're singing together, doing the blessings together. And the thing that I really, that really sort of opens the gates of Shabbat for us is blessing the candles together with our community. Everyone has their Shabbat candles, and I wait for everyone, and we talk about who we're inviting into the service, they may be living or passed on or out of the area, and how we fill the room with all those people, and then invite the angels in when we sing Shalom Aleichem, so that the room is filled. And I always laugh and I say the Zoom screen is filled with all of these people who have joined us across the generations. So that's, for me, a meaningful way to refresh myself. It is a refreshing, it really is a restoring of energy. Stephen, are you? Yes, you're raising your.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I enjoy most is citing a woman of valor on Friday night to my wife on the service. I lost contact many years ago, and when I met Norma, and we got married, it became a part of me on Friday night services. In fact, I cited it over my mother's eulogy, representing my mother. That's how it meant to me. Good.
Thank
She
you.
celebrated every Friday night.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Anyone else before we move forward a little bit more?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
actually,
Yeah.
the service on the internet makes me feel more intimate, and instead of being at the service, it's more intimate at home, and listening to the music and the service at home makes me feel makes me feel great. I went to service the other day at the synagogue, but I liked it better at home. The comparison. I could hear better and see better, be more involved, strangely enough.
That's so interesting that you said that, because I've shared with a friend that for me, it feels more intimate and more cozy doing it from my own living room. You know, the fireplace is going behind me. If it's cold, we have it on, and the candles are there, and I'm like with my stuff, you know, and as opposed to being in rented space that's far apart and sometimes chilly and not as Hamish, really not as welcoming and warm. So I'm really happy doing it in my own, you know, in my own spot. And I always wondered, like, why? Because physically I'm not with my community, you know, we're on Zoom, but we're so bonded at this point after 2 years of doing it this way that I think it's probably just what you say, you know, it's okay.
We're soul bonding.
Yeah.
We're doing nefesh.
We are nefesh to nefesh. We are. Turning off all technology, Jill says. And yes, that certainly makes a big difference. I'd like to share with you another very interesting text and see what you think of it. Nina, could I prevail upon you to read the Stephen Covey one?
The story is told about a woodcutter who was sawing down a tree. A friend walked by and they said good morning to each other. Many hours later, the friend returned and found the woodcutter still cutting down the tree. "What are you doing?" asked the friend. "Can't you see?" the woodcutter replied. "I'm cutting down a tree." "How long is it going to take?" "Surely you should have finished by now," asked the friend. "Did you take a break to sharpen your saw?" "No," explained the woodcutter. "I needed to finish the job and didn't have time to sharpen my saw."
And there's a little add-on text to that, if we can just go to that one, and then we'll talk about both of them. There's like a one-liner. Abraham Lincoln said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." So we've got 2 axe references in this. Not that I'm a violent person, but we do have 2 axe references. And my question is, how do you understand Shabbat as a day to sharpen our saws? And what are some of the ways you use to do that? And they may not be the same answers or have to be the same answers that you've given for the previous question about what refreshes your soul. But how do you use Shabbat as a day to sharpen your saw? And what are some effective ways to do that? Just a thinking question.
I'm just
Audrey?
thinking, I'm thinking
Yeah.
very, very broadly in general, kind of, but you know, it's to learn something, whether it's studying a piece of the Torah or I think of sharpening my mind, making, you know, and learning, understanding a new concept. So I guess I need to embrace that a little more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good answer. And I think, Audrey, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Lori Brown the second.
Yes, that was what threw me off, and I just hesitated. Yeah, because there's not 2 Loris here. Okay.
Yeah, but I am Audrey. I took it differently. I didn't take it as how to Shabbat sharpen your mind. I took it as if you don't, you need to prepare the axe. You need to sharpen the axe. you need to prepare for Shabbat. You need to, just the way you prepare for a holiday or in any Jewish holiday, you know, you're going to be doing whatever it is. And I'll be perfectly honest, I do not come from a Shabbat observant home. And I go to Friday night services some of the time, not all of the time. I love it when I go. Sometimes it's just too cold to get out of the house, and then I'll do the Zoom business. But I think you need to prepare yourself to experience the joy of Shabbat, the holiness of Shabbat. I think you need to prepare yourself. So I took it differently.
That's interesting. But Maya, you're next. I just want to respond to Audrey by saying, you know, you made me think of something when you said that, because when I was in Israel, it was so interesting how the pace of life changed and how Thursday was like, woof, you know, and Friday morning, people are like rushing around. They're in the marketplace, they're buying, they're shopping. They're like, you would think it was going out of style, you know, buying all these things. And it was just a different rhythm of life that people were preparing. They were so intentionally preparing for the foods that they were going to cook and the things that they wanted to buy in the different candle shops and, you know, home goods stores. And I thought how amazing that was, that every week this rhythm repeats itself and they prepare for Shabbat, and how it's not just the same old thing that comes up again. They actually prepare for it. It's something special that's coming. And it was just really a privilege to be able to be part of that when we were there. I'm done. But Maya, please go ahead.
Thank you. I liked the things that were shared, and it did definitely give me thoughts about like how I can be more spiritually observant, because I think that that was the thought for me, was like kind of the preparation of my spirit, and the need to really slow down. Because as I've begun to observe Shabbat over the past 2 years, because I started like before Rosh Hashanah, I guess, like, so this is into the second year now. I found that like I can't just shut off like immediately. Like I almost have to sort of like move into like a slowness or like a different emotional and spiritual space. Otherwise, I'm still very much like wanting to clean things and wanting to like and now that I've been observing for this period of time, it feels more natural, you know, and more I'm more okay with leaving the dishes to sit, you know, and just kind of pulling back from the need to be in control all the time.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's a real transition that you've made. Lucky you. Norma?
I have to go with Audrey in terms of preparation. Traditionally, God bless my grandmother, Friday morning, we scrubbed the house from stem to stern. I have Stephen helping me now because I don't have the strength anymore. And I change all the sheets and the bedding and everything. And as I was reading about Jews during the Inquisition, and these were things that they were doing too. And I said to myself, there are certain rituals that I've been doing in my family for years that I never really understood. And I'm just wondering, way back when, somewhere in my history, like when we cut off a piece of the holly and we save it for God, I just realized that it was part of the old sacrifices that were made at the temple. And so these rituals have been passed down from my grandmother and through my mother, and I'm doing them too, but it's finally having meaning for me. And that preparation is very, very important. You have to have clean sheets for Shabbat. You know?
Thank you. Others, anyone else like to add about sharpening the saw? Okay. Okay, we'll go forward a little bit more and see where we're going to travel to next. So we have a nice text here. This one is taking us to the time of slavery, And this is from the Ramban. It's a commentary on Deuteronomy. And it says, when we were slaves in Egypt, working every day against our will, we were not able to rest. We are therefore commanded to rest every Shabbat in order to remember the kindness of the Lord who took us out from slavery to freedom. It's a very key text, a very key teaching text. And so it is coupled with another text that I want to introduce at the same time, the Robert Putnam one, which says slavery was in fact a social system designed to destroy social capital among slaves and between slaves and freemen. And social capital is defined at the bottom. It's a networks of relationships among people who live and work in a particular society, enabling them to function effectively. So really what Putnam's quote is that slavery was designed to destroy social capital and destroy the web of connection between the people, which would allow them to function effectively, that the institution of slavery destroyed that. And so I'd like to look at a couple of final questions. They are my final questions for the text study for tonight. And the first one, I would like to know, in what ways does Shabbat rectify the injustice of slavery? This is a really hard question. It's a thought question. In what ways does Shabbat rectify or repair the injustices of slavery? Claire?
Everyone, including your animals, rests on Shabbat. Everyone is commanded to take the day and own the time. And that is empowering. Shabbat is my time. It's my time to do with whatever will heal me, my soul, whatever will rest my body, whatever will sharpen my saw. And sometimes just turning off all of the mind mechanisms and just seeing things in a new perspective is refreshing and healing.
Thank you very much. Others, any thought? Just raise your hand if you have an answer, or a sharing, I should say, to the question, in what ways does Shabbat repair the injustices of slavery? And I think, the slave masters enforced and made the slaves work, and our commandment to observe Shabbat is a commandment that forces us to rest if we observe it, but we have the choice. The slave didn't have a choice. Go ahead. Yeah, go for it. Go ahead.
I like the fact that, even when Moses is talking about it, like he's talking about slaves and giving them the day off in addition to us and all our animals and everything. And it almost seems a little bit counterintuitive, but it sort of goes to the way that like we live our rhythms of life, like we're honoring the fact that even though the world isn't a perfect place, that we're going to do our part to add to it by giving the time to ourselves and to our workers and things like that. And I imagine like in Israel, like my daughter and I, we usually watch like a Sesame Street version, Shalom Sesame, and they're getting ready for Shabbat and everyone's rushing around and everything. And then, they're singing songs to usher in the time, and you're thinking, wow, what I wonder to myself, like what it would be like to celebrate, like my daughter says, it's a holiday every week, that we're getting that time to give ourselves a break from the rat race and the constant need to conquer and the need to control and ourselves and others as well, sort of giving up our time to God in a sense.
Thank you for that. When you were talking about that, I had just a vision pop into my head of when I was doing some training before rabbinical school, and I went to Camp Ramah in the Berkshires, and I attended a training through the conservative movement for lay leaders, which is what I was doing at that time. And we got to be with all the kids who were in the camp because we were sharing their space. And when Shabbat came, it was the most amazing thing to be a part. It was, I'll never forget it. And it was a very long time ago. Everyone, they had people out on the lawn as you were coming to go to services, handing out flowers. Everyone got flowers. They were just bouquets of flowers, giving everyone flowers, everyone dressed in white, everyone a white t-shirt for the guys, or women had like a white skirt and a white whatever you brought, that you wanted to wear. And how amazing that was. And then all eating together and doing the benching after eating, and how festive and amazing it was. And then as a rabbinical student and as a rabbi, going to the retreats for the Jewish Renewal movement, and actually going out on the lawn to greet the bride of Shabbat, everyone in white, hundreds of people dressed in white with, music and guitars and singing, and waiting to watch the sun go down, and then dancing to Lecha Dodi on the lawn. It was just, never in my life had I seen anything like that. And it was those are two experiences I will never forget. That is how, in my mind, it should be Shabbat for everyone who wants it to be Shabbat. And, that was my wish. And I feel fortunate to have, get to experience that on occasion. So other things about how does Shabbat rectify the institution of slavery before I ask my next question? My next question is along the same veins, but it says, as we look back, not only are we to look backwards in history, but we need to be sensitive to those who are living with us who are not free. And this is so important at this time. And who needs our attention today? And what can we do about their situation? How does the commandment shape our moral compass in this world that we live in today? Who's not free? Who do we need to help? And how are we going to do it? And that's the last question I want to pose for discussion. I think it's a very challenging question because it opens the doors of social justice and invites us to step in.
For Stephen and I, that's really an easy question. We work with the homeless. We go into the woods. We go to provide for community meals. This is something that comes naturally for us. So we didn't even have to think twice. This is something that we do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Other people, anything you might be thinking on who needs our help and how do we rise to that occasion?
This can be at any time that they need the help, or is it
Yeah,
just?
I mean, if we're looking, if we look backward, we see people backwards in history. We see the struggles that we've witnessed and what's happened. But if we look toward the future and are living in the present, what do you see? What do you envision? How do we help going forward? And who's going to need our help? And how will we do that? So hopefully that's a little more clear for you.
Interesting. I guess the social worker background in me, I'm thinking about community when we talk about helping in the future, is supporting parts of our community populations, whether it's older folks that need help or some population in the community that just needs more support, to strengthen them and then strengthen the whole community so that we have a positive, healthy future.
Yeah, I mean, where are the lost people? Who are they? No, thank you. That was very meaningful, your answer. And it really brings me to ask the question, who are the lost people out there? Are they the refugees that have no place to go? And thank you, Nina. It's very hard to see the icon because the icon is off on the corner. But Maya, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I don't see the icon because I'm facing forward. So, I'm going to call on you in 1 second, but my thought is, who are the lost people of today? Are they the refugees? Are they the elders? Are they the people living on the streets? Are they the children who have learning disabilities? Are they people with physical disabilities? Are they, people who have suffered from climate issues in one way or another? We just had devastating conditions that went across our country. Who are those people, and how do we respond? How does the commandment, help us shape our direction? Now, please go ahead, Bamaya, please.
So I was going to actually mention one of the groups that you mentioned, like as I look forward, like ahead to what my work is, what I see is twofold. One, like families, period, because I think that like we're so we've like almost lost a whole generation of wisdom because like we're not tapping into our elders and stuff. And for me, like that's a wisdom that I had also lost because like my dad was military. We never lived near family. So to me to like restore that balance, I see like kids with in families where the child has a disability and they're unable to access like the curriculum through at school through like the normal way that they teach everybody, right? It's not really one size fits all. Like they need advocacy and almost a time when things slow down and there's not an emphasis and focus on the technology so much and like their minds being distracted by it, but the ability to sort of cast that off and spend time that they can be valued for the different ways that they might show up in the world and learn, you know, like a kid doesn't learn math until you accidentally put a tablespoon of salt in something that only needs a teaspoon, you know, and you're hung out or whatever. Like there's something about like that removing of the systems that are broken that Shabbat offers to me. And I see that as like the next people, you know, that need the support and help, and that the way that Shabbat is, we learn to like cast off the, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like the corporate bureaucracy and kind of like get back into like the spirit.
Thank you. I think that's a lovely teaching that you have just imparted to all of us, and grateful to receive it. Thank you. Others, any other thoughts? We have, if no one has any other comments, we do have a song to share with everyone as we wrap up. And the song, Yedid Nefesh, is a beautiful, beautiful song. I want to grab a Siddur, if you give me 1 second to step out of the frame.
It's a long, beautiful recording, and I think you'll enjoy watching it. But I don't want anyone to go away till it's over. Stick around so we can come back and talk about it.
And yeah, I just want to, let me just, you know, there's a beautiful Kabbalistic interpretation of the text that Reb Zalman from the Renewal movement wrote. And so, Nina, I may send this translation to you to share, if you would, afterwards with everyone in the follow-up, because it's too long to read it, but it is a mystical interpretation of Yedid Nefesh, which is indeed a mystical song. So please go ahead and enjoy, everybody. And if you want to stick around afterwards, we'll have some closing comments.
משוך עבדך אל רצונך ירוץ עבדך כמו היין ישתחווה אל מול הדרך יבנו ידידותיך מנופי צוף וחולתה אדוני לפני העולם נפשי חולת אהבתך עדיין לפניי בהרות לה נועם זיווה אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לה שמחה גדולה. רחמך וחוסנה על בן אהובך, כי זה כמה נחשף לי, לראות בתפארת עוזך. אנא אלי מחמד ליבי וחוסנה ואל תתעלה, יגאלנה ופרוס חביבי עליי את סוכת שלומך. תאיר ארץ לכבודך, נגינה ונשמחה בך. מהר אהוב כי בא המועד, וכל נאום ימי עולם.
I don't know whether the chat, what I put in the chat came through, but Yedid Nefesh, the Hebrew text is Rabbi Eliezer Azkiri from the 16th century. So this is a true Kabbalistic piece of music. And I'm going to send Nina a poetic translation that's singable actually in English, that Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, the founder of my movement, of the Jewish Renewal movement, wrote some years ago. And you can see how the lyrics were translated into workable poetry for the contemporary times. So I love this recording. I just love it. I hope that everyone enjoyed it, and I hope everyone enjoyed our conversation tonight and our teaching of each other about Shabbat. We have the third part coming up, right? The Havdalah is coming up. Do you have the date, or we'll put it in the letter?
Yeah, put it in the follow-up email. It's also already on our website. If you go to our virtual page, I think it's February 16th, but I don't know why I think that. So, possible, but it's very easy. I'll make sure it's in the follow-up email anyway.
Any closing comments before we break for the evening, Lori?
I just wanted to let people know I put in the chat, we were talking about that Southern Jewish experience, and I put the link for that if anybody wants to go learn about the Jews of the South with me. I'll be there next.
That's lovely.
Any other comments before we say goodnight?
Great big hugs to everybody.
Thank you, and likewise.
Stay healthy.
Thank you.